A few months ago, when I was 16 years old, my brother, who is 15, offered to go for a ride together. When we got in the car, he asked if he could drive to the store. At first I said no, as I was already driving. However, he insisted and I agreed, considering the store was only 3 minutes away. We switched places but never made it to the store. My brother accidentally put the car in reverse instead of forward and hit a tree. This caused scratches and dents on the car, and the taillight broke. Our father got very angry, took away our phones and forbade us from leaving the house. For a month we took the bus to school until I got the car back. When I had the car and phone again, my father said I needed to get a job to make amends. I asked if my brother also had to work, but my father replied in the negative since the car was mine. I expressed my displeasure, claiming that I was being penalized for my brother's mistake. My father insisted that it was not a punishment but a lesson in responsibility. I've been working for 3 weeks now and I don't like it. Last Friday, as I drove us home from school, my brother smirked and said he hoped I was having fun at work. I ignored his words, but he repeated them again. That's when I stopped the car and asked him to get out. He refused, so I said we would wait here until he did. 10 minutes later, he finally got out and I drove home to get ready for work. When I got home after work, I found out that my dad already knew what had happened and was very angry. My brother told him that I had left him on the side of the road, which was dangerous. I replied to my father that I didn't care and that I didn't want to drive my brother anymore. This upset my father. He said that I should not have left my brother to walk home alone. He warned me that he would take my phone away if I didn't apologize. I was forced to apologize. Afterward, my father said that I was no longer allowed to leave my brother in that situation. I assured him that I would not do it again, as I would now take the bus home. My father asked if I was serious about using the bus instead of driving my brother. I confirmed my words. I don't think my father believed me, because the next morning I did take the bus to school, and my brother had to take the bus too. I didn't give it a second thought, as I had already decided that I would no longer take him to school by car. However, my dad texted me that we would talk when he got home from work. I don't think I did anything wrong, but the situation makes me uncomfortable. You're not an idiot. Your brother is behaving inappropriately, and that seems to suit your father, because your brother doesn't face consequences for his actions. You found a way to avoid driving, and that's good for you. If I were in your parents' shoes, I wouldn't make you drive your brother around until he learns to behave decently. Try explaining to your father that you are tired of your brother's behavior of constantly smiling and trying to boss you around. Where is your brother's responsibility for knowing about his lack of a driver's license and yet getting into an accident? Why aren't you both equally responsible for what happened? How is it that he is completely absolved of blame as if he had nothing to do with the accident? Your father is demanding that you pay for the damages because you are the owner of the car. However, as the owner, you also have the right to decide who to drive in your car. Update: I've come to the conclusion that refusing to drive your own car seems illogical. My brother, influenced by our father, is giving me an ultimatum. I'm sure he holds a grudge against me. So when my father came home, he immediately came into my room to talk to me. He expressed disappointment in my behavior and stated that he wished me nothing but the best. I replied to my father that his approach was not yielding the desired results because I had all the responsibility while my brother had none. My father acknowledged my frustration but pointed out my mistake in letting my brother drive. He promised to talk to my brother and get him to stop acting arrogantly. My father expressed his regret that my brother was annoying me, but emphasized that leaving him on the side of the road was dangerous and irresponsible of me. He expected more from me. My father also expects me to start using the car again for school trips and to take my brother with me so that he doesn't have to take the bus to school alone. If I have a problem with my brother, I should let my father know rather than leaving him on the side of the road. I expressed my disagreement with driving my brother as it would not benefit either of us because of his ability to distract me. I don't want to be involved in another accident. My father asked why I felt my brother was distracting me, and I explained that he was making me angry and driving in that state was dangerous. The father emphasized that my anger was misplaced and that I should admit my mistakes. I acknowledged to my father that I recognized the problem and expressed my wish that my brother would as well. My father responded that my brother should not worry about such things and advised me to simply follow his instructions. I explained to my father that I did not want to ride with my brother because I felt it was unsafe. My father questioned whether I felt that I could not control my anger when I was in the car with my brother. I responded that I do find it problematic. My father suggested that instead of driving my brother around, I could see a therapist after school to work on my emotions. I asked my dad if he was serious about suggesting this. He confirmed that those were my only options and asked me to let him know my decision by the next morning so he could find a suitable therapist. I tried to explain to my father that this choice seemed unfair to me. He replied that he wanted me to behave more maturely and not repeat my brother's mistakes because he didn't want to deal with the immature behavior of both of them. I told my father that I didn't want to deal with him either, but he reminded me of the options given to me and gave me until morning to make a decision. I then clarified that it was all just a joke, but he still emphasized that I had no other options. He left and I was left thinking that I didn't expect this development. Tell me you are not a family favorite without saying so. Your father's expertise in manipulation could go into the dictionary as an illustration of the term therapy. After all, therapy would require a significant financial investment from him. You won't have to drive your brother around anymore, and that will become a burden on you, especially after trying to get along with the golden child of the family. You're only a year older than your brother, but your father places excessive expectations on you and underestimates your brother. Your decision to let your brother drive was wrong, and the consequences of that choice have proven to be too serious. Your younger brother clearly holds a special place in your father's heart, who either doesn't notice his shortcomings or doesn't want to see them. Unfortunately, the best advice may be to keep your distance and leave as soon as it is legally possible. Otherwise, you run the risk of carrying the burden of your brother's failures for the rest of your life. Next story. My girlfriend is 25 years old. I am 27. We have been together for 2 years. There are no children in our house. I am currently working, and my girlfriend quit 3 months ago. The staff at her previous place of work turned out to be unpleasant. Fortunately, my salary allowed us to keep our household stable, although it was not easy. After my girlfriend was fired, the financing of daily expenses such as groceries fell on my shoulders. I spent all of my earnings on paying bills. I reminded her several times to look for a new job. She responded to my reminders with disappointment each time. The situation worsened when I had to work overtime. At one point, I urged her to find a job as it was difficult for me to support both of us while working uninterrupted. We argued about it often. She suggested that I get a second job and stated that she did not want to repeat her previous experience of working in a toxic environment. Eventually, she expressed a desire to stay home. I objected that this approach was unacceptable and warned her that I would consider ending the relationship if she did not start looking for a job. She resented this and said that traditionally men are supposed to take care of their partners. Since then, our interactions have dwindled and she is clearly unhappy with me. I don't understand why some people aspire to become housewives right away. If the relationship suddenly ends, there is a risk of being left with no savings and no career. Unfortunately, this is becoming a popular trend on TikTok. Her financial security is jeopardized if you decide to end the relationship. This is a really weird trend. I would seriously rethink this relationship if I were you. I can't imagine burdening my partner with the stress of demanding a second job while not contributing myself. Frankly, I would try to avoid that situation. By the way, she even suggested you look for a second job. That said, no one is willing to hire her when she doesn't present an attractive candidate. She is not contributing to the relationship. In today's world, most couples have a hard time living on one income. Your girlfriend is looking for an excuse to stay home. It may be time to put an end to this situation as she may start using you as an ATM machine. Now I want to tell a different story. A few days ago, there was a mishap with my ex-husband. He mistakenly made 2 transfers in the amount of $92.75. It happened around 7:40 in the morning. I didn't notice the transfers at the time. I was working the night shift and was getting ready for bed. My cell phone was on charge on my nightstand. At this time, my 4 children were at their parents' house. I had planned to get a full day's sleep. My husband realized his mistake around 8:30 a.m. By then, I was sound asleep. When I woke up at 4:00 p.m., I found over 100 missed calls and about 150 messages. In them, he was begging for a refund. At first, I thought of sending them back. However, I remembered that he owed me $12,000 and had not paid it back for years. He always had excuses as to why he couldn't pay me back. Despite this, I could see how he was living. I decided to withhold the amount he owed me. I only paid him back $5,975 and explained that I had set off his debt. This provoked his anger. He hurled an avalanche of insults at me. It turned out that the money was meant to buy an engagement ring for his girlfriend. He was planning to propose the following weekend. The revelation of his plans led to conflict. His girlfriend also expressed her displeasure. I had to shut down my social media because of this situation. Even the relationship with his parents, which was cordial, suffered. I discussed what happened with a friend and a colleague. Our conversation was overheard by another coworker. He called my actions idiotic. Apparently, he shared this opinion with others. Now I'm beginning to question whether my action was really that stupid. Edited. After our divorce, which happened 7 years ago, I loaned him money 4 years later. He had lost his job and was in debt with bills and rent. These circumstances were separate from the alimony issues he was also facing. The family court and the alimony company took care of the problem. There were rumors that he was applying for loans. The repayment plans and terms he offered were never honored in practice, creating a legal trail. If he had decided to take legal action, it would have cost him a significant amount of money. I am sure I would have won such a process, as in fact I only deducted the right amount of money from his debt. He is the father of our 4 children. I could have sued him over the debt, but it would have cost me much more to hire an attorney. Litigation is financially and time-consuming. He owed me $12,000 over 4 years. His priorities should have been paying off the debt and saving for an engagement ring. Especially given that he had the money, he could very well have found a $6,000 engagement ring. You're not an idiot, you're just being yourself. Ed, tell everyone who thinks you're wrong that if he can pay for a wedding venue, he should be able to pay off his debt to the mother of his children as well. His new bride should be grateful for the opportunity to learn his true identity before the wedding. You've done her a favor by showing her that he doesn't repay debts unless forced to. His bad luck with a mistake may turn out to benefit you and your children. God, it's like these absurd baby gender reveal parties. This guy has no reason to spend almost $18,000 on a girlfriend when he's not honoring his obligations to his ex-wife and kids. My next story. This upcoming Mother's Day will be the first time my wife will celebrate as a mom. I realize that she now comes first, ahead of even my own mother. I hope my family members realize this without further ado. I haven't had high expectations of their understanding lately. When my sister suggested plans for Mother's Day, I explained that I couldn't participate. My sisters showed their annoyance, while my mom showed no emotion. I suggested that we celebrate the occasion on another day. Mom told me not to worry about it. I reminded her that it was now my wife's day. Mom replied that it was my decision, but she was busy and suggested not doing anything on another day. She argued that she didn't see the point in celebrating on random days. I wondered if I had made a mistake because I got angry and called my mom a manipulator. I said she should want to help me make this day special for my wife. Now she's just making it harder than it needs to be. Mom got angry and said that she has her own life and shouldn't have to fit into my plans. At this point, her husband overheard our conversation and interceded and demanded that I leave the house. I later texted my mom apologizing for yelling. I mentioned that I understand if she feels jealous of my wife, that's fine, but we need to find a compromise. My mom got angry again and said that I think everyone should revolve around my wife, even though no one really cares about her but me. Leave your family alone and let them celebrate Mother's Day the traditional way. Why doesn't your mom get along with your wife? Perhaps you expect everyone to behave perfectly in her presence. Also, learn to manage your temper. Your mom didn't manipulate the situation. You were upset because she didn't show any special consideration for your wife. Why can't you show kindness to both your mother and the mother of your children on the same day? You have inflamed the situation yourself. Your mother, despite your not celebrating Mother's Day with her, did not make a complaint. You accused her of jealousy and manipulation. You are the problem. As for celebrating Mother's Day, it probably changes when the son gets married and becomes a father. Until the kids are old enough to take over organizing household chores on that day, it's up to him. Yes, his first responsibility is to his wife, but a visit to his mother later, with flowers, may well settle the matter.